I was that bad, and now I'm a DTM, so if it can be done. I still have much more to learn and grow on, but I've done a great job, and so can anybody else. Yes, Tony.
Madam Toastmaster, please tell our guest what a DTM is.
Oh, yes, a DTM is the highest honor we can get in Toastmasters. It is Distinguished Toastmaster, and you have to do about, Stephen, 40, 50 speeches?
A lot of
The order of 50.
Yeah, about 50 speeches and different projects and leadership projects all throughout Toastmasters within the club and within the district. So it's a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. I had so much fun with that, and now he doesn't have to bring me kicking and screaming. Sometimes I'm bringing him kicking and screaming. That wouldn't work. Okay, our first speaker this evening. This evening's first presenter is a board member with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. He testifies as a high liability subject matter expert during their semi-annual administrative hearings and has testified in more than a dozen capital felony trials in criminal court. The gentleman has been an honorary judicial conference member with the 18th Judicial Circuit for the past 10 years. In June of 2014, he was recognized for his fairness and impartiality when appointed as mediator with the State Attorney's Office in the 9th Judicial Circuit. Tonight, he is here to share with us an inside perspective into the current practice involving jury selection. Please join me in welcoming to the lectern James Briggs.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. I imagine that statement evokes strong memories and likely a bit of frustration for most people in this room. Names like O.J. Simpson, Casey Anthony, and oh, so many more come to mind. I expect I will have your full attention because I'm going to be talking about a proposal that can change your life. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests, my name is James Riggs, and I'm going to talk about legislative change for jury reform. I will tell you why most juries fail. I will give you a proposal which is a better way to decide the fate of the accused. Then I will give you action steps that you can take this very night to be part of this positive change. Let's begin with some of the most common reasons that juries fail. And the first one is very simple. Most people don't want to be there. How many of us have given an excuse to get out of jury duty? How many of us have complained about it? Come on, it is a running joke on Saturday Night Live. It's gossip around the water cooler. We don't view it as a privilege to citizenship. It's a civic burden. But I ask, who can blame anyone for that attitude? We're going to take a brief survey right here, right now. By a show of hands, who would like to be sequestered? Who wants to be cut off from family, friends, the outside world for a day, a week, a month? I saw some hands at first, but don't see any remaining. The second reason is unreasonable expectations. We've all watched these cool shows like CSI, Law and Order, where thanks to the gravitational pull of the moon, I've got a DNA sample, I've got a blood splatter that tells me exactly what happened, and if I'm really, really lucky, I'll have a thumbprint and a driver's license photo of the bad guy before dinner. Ha! This is such a big problem. All the way back in 2003, federal researchers conducted a study. It was based in Wilmington, Delaware, but it encompassed all 50 states. they realized that people actually believed the fiction, the tools and the practices on these shows, which were made up completely out of fiction by the producers to sensationalize the show, they believed that that was real, and even though it had no basis in the real-world capabilities of crime scenes or forensics. Let's talk about high-power, high-priced attorneys. Defense attorneys have no burden of proof. That means they don't have to prove anything. Sometimes they will throw up a story that has no basis in fact. Now we'll couple that with jury consultants. Jury consultants, my friends, are behavioral scientists. They are highly trained at understanding what stimuli will elicit a certain response. So when the jury pool gets narrowed down, these people come in, they conduct background checks on all the potential jurors, then they hand a list of questions to the defense attorney. Once those questions are answered in a specific way, the jury consultant will let them know if that juror will or will not respond favorably for their client. Oh my God! We have an entire profession, a lucrative one at that, designed to manipulate the judicial system. Now there are plenty of other reasons for me to go on with, but I'll leave you with the last one. It's a phenomenon, and it's called peer group thinking. I have a wonderful quote, and believe it or not, it comes from defense lawyers. The National Association of Defense Lawyers say group mentality on a jury forces individuals to take the easy and convenient road instead of the right road. We've often heard that juries don't initially agree, but the wonderful dynamics of peer pressure and groupthink mentality soon have these people in complete accord. Sometimes it's just because they want to go home at the end of the night. It has become clear and obvious that handing lay jurors reams of evidence and over 100 pages of jury instructions, and then telling them to go off and make a life or death decision is as foolhardy as taking a medical journal, handing it to some person, then having them go off to perform brain surgery. My friends, this is what we are doing every day. The solution is very simple, and it's called professional juries. Individuals that have the training, education, and experience in the criminal justice system. State bar associations, law schools are repositories of an inexhaustible number of these very people. Even second and third year law students easily qualify. Here's something else that you guys are going to like as taxpayers. It doesn't cost anything extra. In fact, the money that you save with jury selection, the days upon days, and then jury instructions, the days upon days, are eliminated. So taxpayers save money. Doesn't that sound good? Constitutional scholars agree. This is absolutely in agreement with the Sixth Amendment right to trial by jury. Absolutely agree. Here's what you can do to make this happen and make it happen tonight. Right here are brochures. Very detailed outline of every bit of this proposal. Also on those brochures, contact information for your representatives in Congress. It's already been sponsored by Senator Nelson. It's listed as HR for House of Representatives 777. The contact information's there. Make a phone call, send an email, write a letter, tell them that you support HR 777. Beyond that, go onto the internet. Log on to change.org. Under the same thing, HR 777, we have 137,000 signatures by tonight. We can quadruple that within 30 days. And for those of you who may believe this is just an organization or a group that would rubber stamp conviction after conviction, I am so glad to say that's not the case. Let me give you another quote. This comes from Professor Andrew Leopold, University of Illinois College of Law. Federal judges are statistically more likely to acquit during a criminal trial than lay jurors. Professional jurors would very likely mirror the statistics of federal judges. Do you know why that is? The research shows when people are educated, trained, and have experience in that subject matter, they make decisions based upon facts. They can draw reasonable inferences from evidence or lack of evidence. You probably got frustrated when I said some of those names at the beginning of this presentation. Magnify that and imagine that you have been falsely accused. Do you want your fate at the hands of someone who doesn't want to be there, who is grossly misinformed, easily manipulated, and subject to groupthink mentality? Or do you want it in the hands of a person who can evaluate the facts? Come to the front of the room, grab a brochure, get online, let's make this change happen. Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, Mr. Timer, if we could have 1 minute on the clock. And for our guests, there's a little ballot sheet there. It has first speaker, second speaker, whatever. You can write some notes to Julian, or to James. I'm sure he would appreciate any feedback.
We need a ballot. Susan, are there any more ballots and agendas?
I have more agendas, yes. Ballots.
Got a ballot.
Did we get unperforated from Toastmasters International? Oh, they look like Xerox. Xerox?
That's what happens when you're running a meeting. That's kind of thing happens. And that's part of our learning curve here in Toastmasters. I myself am a housewife. That's not somebody that's necessarily going out and speaking in public and all those things, but you would be amazed talking to the PTA, talking to, if unfortunately like me, talking to custody evaluators and different things that happen within my life. That is a big benefit of Toastmasters. You learn how to speak impromptuly, you learn how to speak, yeah, I know, extemporaneously. That's a better word. And for our guests, new faces and ideas and speeches make Toastmasters experience even more enjoyable and worthwhile for all the members. So when you join Toastmasters, it really helps us because we get more knowledge. Improving speaking and listening skills and thinking and leadership skills, discovering hidden abilities and awakening latent talents, acquiring an expanded vision of the role of communication, and increasing self-esteem through active participation and personal development. That's all things that Toastmasters can do for you, and they have done for me. for our second speech this evening. If you build it, they will come. Famous lines spoken in the movie Field of Dreams. Our next speaker was asked by our VPE to give a speech on building membership. His speech will be centered around if you build it, they will come. Please help me welcome to the front of the room, Jonathan Lincoln Duck.
If you build it, they will come. Fellow Toastmasters, most honored guests, it was about a week ago when Mickey suggested to me as the new Vice President of Membership that I should give a speech on building the membership. And I took it to prayer, which is a common habit for me. And when I did, I heard James Earl Jones' deep baritone voice from Field of Dreams saying, if you build it, they will come. And I know most everyone in this room has heard the speech on the membership drive and the gift certificates. And well, as you know by now, I like to be different. And I also know that those things typically don't tend to be so successful. So in the next 4 to 5 minutes, I'm going to share with you 4 concepts that are centered around, if you build it, they will come. But what I'm speaking about is the ultimate attractive force. And that is each and every one of you making the decision once and for all to be the person that you were called to be. Because this room on a Wednesday night is really an ultimate sort of platform to do that. And when you make the decision to become that person, your lives in this club, James, are you ready? Are going to go boom! And the first word that I want to share with you on this quest of building yourself up is the word commitment. You have to commit and make the decision that you're going to be that person no matter how difficult it is. And whenever I talk about commitment with my clients at my wellness facility, when they need that speech, Tony Giddles, I share the speech of the famous Spanish conquistador Cortez. In the 16th century, he was commanded by the king to take his 500 men from Cuba, where they were in port, and go all the way to the coast of Mexico and capture the Aztec land. Doesn't sound like a very big deal, except I'm no mathematician. There was 500 Spaniards, and there was 1 million Aztecs. Staggering odds. Cortez knew that this was going to require some commitment. So he took his ships and he sailed over to Mexico. And as he sailed over, his men basically wrote letters to their wives and their family at home saying, probably never going to see you again because I'm probably going to die. Think about those problems compared to the ones you're faced with when you're thinking about giving a speech in here. And he got over to Mexico, and his first order to his men, it's famous. Burn the ships down, men. And they did raise a little bit of a ruckus. They said, well, how are we going to retreat? And he said, if we go home, we're going to go home in ships made of Aztec wood. He burned back the path of retreat so their mind could be focused on one goal, getting home to their wives. The greatest gift that you can give to the world and to this club is to be your healthiest self. So when you come through these doors, how many of you, because I see the ones that participate and the ones that don't, are giving yourself a path of retreat? Just stop doing it right now. It's obviously not that easy. So I want to share 3 sub-concepts with you that are going to help you get committed. The first one is passion. And every time I talk about passion, the women automatically think 50 Shades of Grey. But that's not what passion means. I'm going to give you the short of it. You need to start loving yourself. And anything that you're going to love requires passion. And passion means being willing to suffer for what you love. If you want to become the person that you're meant to be, it is going to involve suffering. There is no other option. And just deal with it. 5 years from now, you're going to look back and say, that's one of the greatest gifts I've ever had, because you're willing to suffer. Tony comes to my gym, suffers 3 times a week, and she's lost 5 or 6 pounds. Just accept suffering as part of your life and look at it as a gift. Always stay in the state of gratitude. And this is the sole reason, the second concept I joined this club. Because Tony was here, Stephen was here, and Julian was here, and I spotted it right away. I knew I was in a place in my life that I needed to have humility. And that's the second concept on your path of getting committed. And humility doesn't mean being meager, it doesn't mean being weak. I joined this club because I was developing humility. And there was people in this room that I knew could take me from where I was all the way to where I wanted to be. Humility, the root of the word, is humus. And that's the brown soil in the ground that's necessary for growth. If you want to grow into the person that you want to be, you have to have that humus. It means being coachable and teachable. Mickey has been beating us down to have mentors, but how many people really are utilizing their mentor? I know I do, and I see myself getting better and better every week, and it's no coincidence. Stephen offered me help last night. I'm going to jump at it, because this is a collaborative effort. And if you're worried about how people might look at you when you get up here and speak if you're not ready, that's the third and final concept. It's a word I came across in my travels, and it is a Hindu word. And it means always plant the seed of Genshai. And Genshai means never, ever treat anyone, except for maybe in a roast, small. Ever. Because if you plant that seed, that is all that's going to come back to you. You will never, in return, be treated small. And the first person that we all treat small, when you're looking in the mirror tomorrow morning, you're brushing your teeth, that's usually the person that's getting treated small. If you make the commitment to come in here each week and engage in becoming the person that you were meant to be, people are going to take notice, and they're going to want to know what you're doing. And boom, if you build it, they will come. Madam Toastmaster.
For our comments.
We'll introduce the first evaluator. The greatest of all gifts in Toastmasters is the gift of feedback. With feedback, we learn about ourselves and we discover our potential. Here to provide his evaluation of James Riggs' speech, please welcome Advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan.
James, as the evaluator, I'll find you and ready for improvement. Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, what you saw today was a wonderful, perfect demonstration of what the Persuade with Power speech is supposed to be. This is the 9th speech out of the Competent Communication Manual, our basic manual, and the particular goal. You want to convince people to adopt a point of view and or take an action, of which we were seeing both here tonight. You had your structure, James, together put well done. You had your points strong. You had your passion very clearly showing, which just flowed naturally into the voice and most of your gestures. You had noted and asked for me about what to do about when you tend to move around, and you were doing a little bit of moving around. Considering that you were focusing on the passion, that wasn't too bad. The only distractions there were if you went too far off, and occasionally with the hand in pocket, which, depending on when you do it, can work, but you want to make sure you're doing it when you want to be casual. The other point I would say, at those points when you're doing something that was quite fun and entertaining, or the jokes, remember to smile. Because when you're looking angry the whole time, you kind of wonder. Now, I find this particular speech entertaining for me, especially where I was all last week, which was in getting that very training that the jury consultants actually get. And I do train in this stuff as well. But taking some of that, I can add a little bit more that you won't find within our manuals. Because some of the things I was wondering about was, with some of your gestures, although I love the throw up the story, this was a very good way to throw up the story, when you were also talking about the